The series continues with the threat of a massively destructive missile looming over the board members' heads. Up until now, nobody, except the board, knows about the missile thanks to the dispatching of the secret police in the last episode by Iris. However, with the missile only a day and a half away from them, they needed to act fast. In the meeting, Judd reveals that he had actually made provisions so that the ship could actually be split in half. He had done this so that he could save money on taxes by registering the two ships as a smaller kind, and thus saving money. This might as well have saved them all. However, the missile actually targets heat signatures, so if they all went into either half of the ship, they would be the ones that would die. There was only one option, saving the best 3,000 people, and letting the others die. Yet again, Ryan is not happy with such an inhumane idea. But there seems to be no other way. Besides, all the other members of the board are already on board with the plan. Now came the issue of how they would judge who the very best 3,000 passengers among them were. And Judd yet again reveals another part of the ship. He had created an AI that looked at all the activities that each and every one of the passengers on the ship performed. The AI had been ranking and could further rank all the passengers based on the value that they provide for the ship. Frank is called to test this out. His character's given the rank of 832, which meant that he would be one of the 3,000 people that could survive by heading to the front half of the ship, while the rest of them died. Ryan then goes on to the ship's announcement system, and then without revealing that a death missile was heading their way, simply announces that for the next 24 hours the ship's AI would judge them all. When the day was over, the top 3,000 of them would be given access to the ship's front and luxurious half. As soon as the captain announces the news, the judgment begins. Everyone is very much clueless as to why this is happening, but thanks to the watch they all have that is connected to the ship's system, they can easily tell when they gain and when they lose points. Mia and Doug are in their room arguing and consequently losing points. Mia thinks that since she is pregnant and is about to give birth to their child, she should already be having a lot of points based on her situation, but the ship's system is too critical to judge that. Karen, on the other hand, is pissed that Ryan didn't talk to her or even invite her when Frank was called for the system's checking. She tries to assure herself that Ryan actually cares about her, but Frank assures her that Ryan doesn't want anything to do with her. He even gets a point from the system for telling the truth, but Karen can't have an AI telling her what the truth is. She vows to seek the truth herself and brings out her perfect Ryan skin mask and outfit, and heads to the AI system. The system is so cheap that it thinks she is Ryan despite the obvious looks, and gives her access to his audio files from the ship. Karen then hears what she had always feared, a scurry of slurs and abuses thrown at her by Ryan. The man absolutely hated her. Elsewhere, Ryan takes Charles, Alina, and the kids to a nice restaurant on the ship, which is filled with cameras everywhere. So if they could pretend to have a nice fancy dinner, their points would get boosted higher up, and perhaps they could be saved. With their watches still beeping telling them their point score, the five of them sit down for dinner and discuss their complex relationship. Alina admits that she was actually in love with them both and didn't know what to do. The latter half of this was false and she gets her points reduced. She actually wanted to have them both. Ryan, however, seems oddly more focused on them having the dinner, and they notice his behavior. He was acting like they were going to die if the dinner went badly. Alina presses him to reveal the truth, and after some lies and losing tons of points himself, Ryan reveals what this whole point system was to both of them. However, even though he was telling the truth, his points were going down rapidly, and he needed to know what the hell was happening. At the lab of the ship, Spike and Billy are talking about their points. Spike's jokes have given him quite the boost in points, and Billy had done something so amazing that she was actually in second place. However, Billy is not satisfied with second place. She never was, so she heads out to see who the number one in the rankings was. Spike, on the other hand, heads out to the most crowded part of the ship and starts his very own comedy show, cracking jokes about bisexuals and wives and other things which might be an issue later. Rav and Matt are on the other end of the ship, trying to find a way so that Rav can actually help someone. So far she had very low ratings and had most recently complimented two siblings to be a very good couple. Nat takes her to a soccer game so that she can shower others with compliments and gain points that way. There she sees that a fat man was choking to his death. Nat pressures her into helping the man despite her being reluctant. She helps the poor man who ends up dead thanks to them not calling the medics. The man was having a heart attack. Iris has a nifty little trick of her own and is going around smiling at the camera. This trick, however, is soon found out by the AI, which is ever evolving. Ryan, on the other hand, still cannot figure out why he was losing points, only if he knew that Karen was going around the ship in his mask ruining everyone's day. She was so mad at him and she wanted him to die with her. Ryan goes to the center of the ship, where Judd is giving tips to people to improve their rating since it was his AI. However, when Ryan asks him to check his ranking, Judd realizes that he is in the bottom half of the spectrum and was bound to be killed. Mia and Doug are heading to the front of the ship as well when suddenly Mia's water breaks, and they take a rest in a room. Iris and Matt arrive there as well, and Iris helps deliver the baby, which turns out to be Mad's son. Oops, speaking of Mads, Billy finds him at the statue of Judd, and he was the one with the top ranking. The AI could make no meaning of what the dumb Swede was saying, and since he always had a dumb smile of his face, he was number one. Billy chuckles as to why she even cared. Ryan then goes to find Karen and realizes what she had been doing. The both of them talk, and Ryan is truthful with her. He tells her that he hated her and her existence as well, but he apologizes for making her feel that way. That's when he gets a ton of points. Turns out the AI has a cheat code, and apologizing for mistakes just gives everyone a ton of points. Soon everyone starts kicking, punching, and hurting each other to apologize later and get as many points as they can, but with only 2 minutes remaining there is not much they can do. The time is now over, and soon the passengers are divided into their groups. The top 3,000 get to have the better half of the ship while the rest go to die. Alina has very low points, so Ryan gives her his watch and sends her to the better end while he dies along with Charles. Billy sees that Spike and her other engineer friends were low on points too, so she remains back as well. Judd too has to stay back. Only Mads, Matt, and Rav, who apologize to the victim's wife whom she killed, get to be at the safe end of the ship along with Iris, who helped deliver a baby. Just as the door starts to close and separate the ship, Judd cheekily shouts the truth about the point system and races to the safe end of the ship. Just as the door closes, he is at the safe end of the ship along with hundreds of other people who escaped with him. With so many people escaping to the safe end of the ship, the heat map changes yet again, and the missile might as well hit the other end of the ship instead. Everyone is worried yet again. What is going to happen is not certain, but one thing was for sure. Either one of the ships would now be obliterated by the missile. Either way, Judd and the other half of the ship were more likely to survive. And if they were dead, then both of the ship's passengers would die, since the good half of the ship had all the eels, the only food supply of the passengers for all the years to come. Billy and Ryan are troubled as to what to do with this situation when suddenly Spike comes to the rescue. He claims that he had taken a medical test just a few minutes ago, and his heart was almost reaching failure. The machine showed that he had 3 weeks at maximum to live, and would instead use the escape pod to launch himself at the Miss Lee and destroy it. His life would save the life of all the people in both the ships. Everyone is ecstatic, which is kind of sad for Spike. When the communication between the two ships is restored, Ryan tries to negotiate with Judd to act together if they are able to successfully escape the Miss Lee. Judd, however, is a tough negotiator and doesn't want anything to do with them. After all, he had all the power and ship's controls in his half of the ship. However, he agrees to negotiate when Ryan offers him all the mustard in the ship, and the toilet paper as well. Ryan is tired of this farce, but it gets worse. He is soon contacted by Alina, who tells him that she wants to marry both him and Charles before they were all destroyed to bits and pieces. They decide to go ahead with a virtual marriage after Spike has left for the journey to his doom. Spike soon gets ready, and after a few words from people he barely knows and Frank, he heads into the escape pod heading straight for the missile. The marriage then begins, and Charles and Ryan say their vows to each other as Matt officiates the marriage in a gloomy mood. Just as Alina is about to say her vows though, Ravs shuts down the ship's entire functions so that they could give off less of a heat signal. This meant that Charles and Ryan were now married, and Alina had no part in the relationship. Ryan, however, can deal with that later. He goes to give a call to Spike, the last words to his friend that he hadn't found the time to give. During the call, as Spike listens, he accidentally activates the medical function of the escape pod and realizes that the ship's medic robot had malfunctioned. He was perfectly fine and was not about to die. Spike chickens out. He no longer wanted to die by flying into the Miss Lee, and despite protest from all his friends who hoped he would die to save them all, Spike manages to turn the pod in the very last second. The missile somehow malfunctions, and with that last second distraction it launches straight through the gap between the two ships. They were all saved. Unfortunately though, the missile hits the same lithium meteor that they were hoping to use to negotiate with the people on Earth with. Ryan sighs in frustration, and he and Billy click a fake video to convince the people on Earth that they not only survived the Miss Lee, but also had the lithium. Sadly though, it was all a perspective trick, and all the lithium that they had was barely enough to make 3 regular batteries. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn the notifications on so you won't miss any of our new videos. Thanks for watching.